everybody? Welcome into Palmetto Sports Daily. A big weekend, especially here in the Low Country, but really all over South Carolina. Bronwyn Story, Julia Westerman. I think I'm opposite there. That'd be Julia there. Carolyn Soro on my other side. We're talking some baseball, MLB Draft weekend, and it was a big one, not only here in Charleston, but in Columbia and in Clemson. So let's kick it off with James Island's very own Taj Marchand going 33rd in the first round to the Tampa Bay Rays. He's been one of the top 40 prospects his entire season, and for good reason. Listen to these numbers, hitting .531 with 13 homers, 45 RBIs, 57 runs scored. On the mound, strikes out 32 batters in 19 innings with a 0.00 ERA. It was so sweet. We got to be there at his draft party when that phone call came in. There is nothing like watching a kid's dream come true right in front of your eyes. And a really fun, interesting fact, his dad there, Hugo Marchand, was on the 2001 Kelly Cup Stingrays championship team. So he came here to play hockey, and then now, like 25 years later, his kid is going to the Tampa Bay Rays. He might be at the Joe soon playing for the Charleston River Dogs, a single A affiliate for Tampa Bay. We don't know, but that would be really cool. At only 17 years old, he has an incredible head on his shoulders. And I got to talk to him right after his pick and talk about his dream, his lifelong baseball dream coming true.
It started when I got that phone call, and I tried to hold it in before the pick actually came on TV, but it was hard. But I'm speechless right now because I mean, it's always what I wanted to do. It was a dream as a little kid, and finally today it's where I'm right where I'm at, and it happened.
I think it's a great fit. They've been in the entire time. I've had conversations up till about dinner time last night with the Rays, and they've been in on him from the very beginning. They saw him a ton of times this spring. I think this is a first-class organization for him.
Yeah, and that was Matt Spivey, his head baseball coach from James Island, and he was not the only one who went in the MLB draft. The Citadel's Michael Gibson going 228th pick in the 10th round to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Obviously, the Cit had an incredible season. Part of it was that guy right there. He earned the SoCon's tournament MVP and second team and third team All-American honors. He was only one of two Division I players during the 2026 season to log 6+ homers and 10+ saves as a two-way player. On the mound, 73 strikeouts in 53 innings of work. And actually, I just learned a little bit ago, his southpaw pitcher compadre, Will Holmes, also signing a free agency deal with the Braves. They should. The Cit had just an incredible season this year. And then we had one more from the Low Country, another high school signee, Banks Wickersham. He went 419th, Fort Dorchester alum. The Patriots on the board too in the 14th round to Kansas City. He's a CFC signee. He hit over 500 in his senior season with 29 strikeouts on the mound in 22 innings. Just an incredible, incredible weekend here in the Low Country and across the state for Palmetto State players. Julia, I want to hear all of it.
Hey, well, I'm a Royals fan, so I'm going to have to keep an eye out for Banks. It's pretty awesome to see them come through, and he could come through here in Columbia with the Fireflies, so you never know. It's pretty great that all of these teams have roots out here in the Carolinas. And just another point before I get to the Gamecocks, it gives me chills watching those videos of these kids getting drafted, and I think that's what's so special about covering prep sports is you get to see these kids grow up. And I know a lot of times, like I've been in Columbia for 4 years. I've covered some kids since they were freshmen in high school, and now they just graduated. And it's so cool to see them kind of live out that dream and everything and then make it up. And one day, when he gets called up to the show, it's like, hey, I remember you when. I just think that's so, so cool. But in terms of what's going on with South Carolina, it's a little bit weird. We'll pop up the names of who got drafted here. And in terms of who's actually on the team and has been on the team in the past, Amp Phillips is the only actual current Gamecock. He was on the team last year. He got drafted in the 15th round to also the Rays. But the rest of these names, they are transfers from other schools who committed to come to South Carolina, but then, of course, also put their name in the draft here. And the thing about this is, 13th to 20th round, it's pretty difficult to know for sure whether or not they will sign with the team that just drafted them. So, you look at a guy like Will Whelan, you would anticipate that he will probably sign his 13th round selection to the Rangers, but it's a little bit iffy once you get up in the draft, and especially in this era of NIL. It's very interesting when you weigh how much you can get paid, because you look at the things like, hey, I can go make a lot of money in school, but I have to balance going to school with playing baseball. Whereas, I don't know what the money looks like in terms of comparison with NIL and, a late round draft pick these days. But then you don't have to go to school when you're playing, single A ball somewhere. So that's a really interesting conversation that I think, honestly, we should talk about in the future, because there's a lot more for these kids to weigh nowadays when it comes to signing these contracts, or if they're going to decide to go back to school. And a big one for South Carolina, of course, all of these names, they do have until July 27th to decide whether or not they will go to the team that drafted them or if they will come to South Carolina. So there are those things there. There is a name, Alan Gomez Godino. He is coming from a high school in Arizona. He's a catcher, which is a big need for South Carolina's team next year after the departure of Talmadge LeCroy. He is going to come. He pulled out of the draft on Sunday, said he's coming to South Carolina. People are really, really excited. But another name here, Connor Schaus, at the bottom of that page there. He's an infielder. South Carolina fans really excited about him. 20th round selection. He got picked with the 5th to last pick in the draft by the Mariners. So kind of a toss-up here, Caroline. I know we're probably, dealing with a little bit of the same stuff with some of the Clemson players.
Yeah.
You just don't really know. So you'll just have to keep an eye out for the next couple weeks to see, are they going to come be Gamecocks or are they going to head to the pros?
Yeah, well, it's a similar deal with a couple Tigers as well, especially when you're talking about some of the high school kids that got drafted who are Clemson signees, have been for a couple years, or even some of the guys who got drafted that have remaining eligibility. That's also something to think about too. It's like, oh, do they like where they wound up in the MLB draft and the team that picked them, or are they going to say, hey, not now, and go back to their college team? So a lot of decisions, like you mentioned, Julia, that need to be talked about. Things we'll be keeping an eye on over the next couple weeks. But similar to the Gamecocks, like I said, the Tigers had 2 signees who went off the board. In the first round, that would be right-handed pitcher Blake Bryant. He was picked up by the Arizona Diamondbacks at number 31 overall. And then all the way kind of back down towards the bottom, we'll get to the current Clemson guys in a second. They also had a prospect, Ethan Offing, who is a Dutch Fork High School product. He's an outfielder. He got picked up in the 18th round by the Red Sox. We will see what both of those guys end up doing. And then, of course, Clemson also had 5 other guys who got taken off the board, 4 pitchers, and then 1 catcher in Jacob Jarrell. Right-hander Aiden Canuck went off the board in the 5th round. He's going to the Brewers, actually, I should say. Got ahead of myself there. Left-handed pitcher Justin Legarnik was not far behind him, getting picked about 20 picks later in the 6th round. He's also going to be headed to the Kansas City Royals. There you go, Julia. Got another local guy headed your way. Then catcher Jacob Jarrell's not going to be going too far. He got picked up in the 8th round by the Braves. He was a 3-year co-captain for Clemson, one of the fan favorites this past season as well, and one of the only Tigers in school history to lead the team in home runs in back-to-back seasons. They also had Ariston Vesey, another right-hander, get picked up in the 11th round by the Cubs, and right-hander Drew Titsworth, who played a big-time role for Clemson last season specifically as well. He was picked up in the 11th round by the Phillies. So a lot of names that are on there, a lot of guys that ended up getting picked. We'll definitely have to monitor who goes, who stays, but also what's interesting for Clemson is whose names we did not hear called on either of the draft days this weekend. So think about guys like Jaron Purify, who didn't get picked, and things like that. So could players like that return? Players who have had a big time impact on their programs over the last couple of years? Only time will tell, Julia. We've got a lot to keep an eye on in terms of the MLB draft. It's hard not to when there's how many rounds? 20 rounds and a ridiculous amount of players that get selected. So, I mean, there's so much action that goes on. It's a lot to keep track of, but stuff we'll keep monitoring too.
Absolutely. And I remember covering Ethan Offing in high school, the Dutch Fork football team, actually. Yeah. Excellent quarterback. And then he decided to pursue baseball. So super exciting. Well, we got plenty more to get to. We're going to take a quick break. Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We're talking a little bit of Atlanta Braves now. We're through the first half of the season, and Atlanta is 55-40 overall. Of course, over the past several weeks, guys, we've really seen a shift in this team from how dominant and powerful they were to start the season, and then they've kind of hit a bumpy road over the past, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks, where it's been a little bit confusing. They've only picked up 2 series wins in, I want to say, the last month. They picked up a series win over the Brewers, and then they went to Pittsburgh and got a series win there. But for the most part, they have not been playing the most consistent baseball. And the past 3 games, they've been in St. Louis. They dropped that series, but they managed to take the series finale on Sunday. So now they head into the All-Star break, which they're sending a handful of guys to Philadelphia this week to participate in those events. But honestly, they really need this time away, I think. I mean, they were so powerful and dominant, like I said, to start the season. And I think they need a little bit of time to kind of remember who they are, Caroline.
Yeah, I think that the break comes at a really good time for them, kind of similar to having a bye week, in the NFL, just a time to reset, kind of get everybody back on the same page, that type of deal. But like you said, Julia, I mean, the month of June, I know we're now in July, which hasn't been exceptionally kind to the Braves either, but the Braves really fell off in the month of June, for lack of a better way to describe it, which is so interesting just with the way that this team started the season. I mean, they were the first team in the league to 30 wins, which happened really early, like back in May. And then in the month of June, they went 9-14. So they entered the month of June with a, wait for it, there we go, 40-20 record. And then now on July 13th, as we get into the All-Star break, they're sitting at 55-40. So just not a great showing for them. They were one of the last teams in the MLB offensively. I mean, they were last in home runs, last in runs scored, and last in RBI in the month of June, which really was not this team's identity at all in the first quarter of the season, you could say, where they were scoring with ease and guys were swinging the bat really well. And I mean, they've had a couple injuries here and there, but it has been kind of a puzzling drop off, at least just from an outsider perspective. So you could say that win in their final game right before the break, they ended up losing the series, but they salvaged the series with 1 win against the Cardinals. You could say that was a must win. That's something that manager Walt Weiss doesn't say very often, but here he is talking about getting that win and some momentum.
It's never a must win unless it's game 7, but it felt like it. It felt close to it. We needed to win this game and salvage a game in this series and then head into the break and hopefully get a few days off and come out rolling.
So that bumped the Braves up to 5-5 in their last 10 games right before the break. But if you're still looking for some baseball, between now and when they pick things back up on the 17th when they return to action, there are 5 Braves who are going to be playing in the All-Star game. So they are second on the list right behind the Dodgers and the Phillies, who each have 6 players with some additions and scratches and stuff like that. So it'll be Ozzie Albies, who's a starter, Drake Baldwin, who's a starter, Raisel Iglesias, who is a right-hander, he'll be in there. Matt Olson is a reserve, and then Chris Sale, the lefty, the veteran. It's his 10th selection. The only active player in the majors who has more than that is, of course, Mike Trout. Pretty good company to be in. So that game is actually tomorrow night. If you're looking to tune into the All-Star game, it's at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see if maybe that'll give the guys that are in the game a little momentum they can bring back with them to Atlanta. But we're going to keep on rolling with Palmetto Sports Daily right after this quick break. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back into Palmetto Sports Daily. As we know, there's not a ton of college sports or anything going on at this point in the year, but there's always time for some basketball tournaments and local stars who come back to the area and all of that sort of thing. And here in Greenville on Sunday, all of that was kind of rolled into one. Former Clemson All-American, a longtime NFL player, and South Carolina native, he's from the central area, Shaq Lawson, was back in town, and he was helping put on a basketball football tournament, which might sound a little odd for somebody who pursued football their entire life, but he said that basketball was his first love, and combining that with being able to give back to the community, that's really what he wanted to do. He couldn't pass up that opportunity. So there was a lot of high-level hoops that were going on out at Legacy Early College here in Greenville, right down the road from us. There's Shaq, the man himself. You're seeing him. And it was basically a showcase for a lot of current and former pro players. So think G League, guys that play overseas, former college standouts, that type of thing. And as you're seeing that check on your screen, the grand prize for winning the tournament was $10,000. And hanging on to that big check is one of the former Gamecock standouts, Talon Cooper. He was part of the team that won it all. And then, of course, his teammate, a guy he played with at South Carolina, BJ Mack, was on the team. And they were also joined by Gamecock legend Sindarius Thornwell, the 2017 SEC Player of the Year, as they ended up winning the entire tournament. It was the first year of this tournament, and it was a pretty big success. So a lot of fun out there. Here's Shaq Lawson and a couple of those guys just talking about being able to give back and be back in South Carolina all together.
I always played basketball. Basketball was my first love, but I choose football on the other end. But I had the opportunity to give back to the community. I love doing that, coming back home and seeing familiar faces and family and friends. So if I get a chance to come back and do anything for the community, I love to come back.
No, real fun. It brought back memories, a lot of good memories, so I love playing with this dude.
How about you? Same deal?
Same deal, Got to be with my PG1 right here, man. Good to come back, man. Good memories right here.
Well, you just love to see those guys back in action. Super fun. They were excited. There were trophies, rings, the check, all the things. And Shaq Lawson actually bought out all of the remaining unsold tickets for Sunday's championship game so that fans could attend the event for free, which was pretty cool. So, Julia, I'm sure you've been in the area for a little bit. I'm sure you remember covering BJ Mack and Talon Cooper at South Carolina. I remember those two guys were teammates back a couple of years ago. It was cool to see them back together.
Yeah, and that was a fun team to watch too. That was back in I want to say the 2024-25 team, and they were pretty good. So good to see those guys still doing well and keeping up with each other, and you gotta love it. Just the relationships that these guys are able to build as they play on these sports teams that go beyond their time at the university, and then they come back together and do something like that. I just think that's super fun, and those guys were always fun to be around.
I think it's such a cool part of our job that we get to, I think, really see, like, this is such a version of, like, healthy masculinity. I think you're seeing it in almost every field of sports right now. Like, we just had the Norway and England play, and you had Holland and Bellingham, and how they're so close. They were on a team together. Now they're playing against each other, and they're just still hugging during the game and all of that. And so I think it's such an interesting avenue. I think a lot of times you would think that maybe competing against each other or things like that or even sports a lot of times could push you in a negative way. But I think all three of us can attest. I think it's really cool that they want to come together. They want to, show that friendship and just have those memories. I think it's a really, really, what a fun summer. I feel like everybody's in such a good place in sports, but after all that, just me babbling, we are going to take a quick break. So we'll be right back on Palmetto Sports Daily.
Well, welcome back in the Palmetto Sports Daily. We just told you about Shaq Lawson, a former Clemson All-American, being back in town, kind of doing some greater good for his home community. And a Malden star, former Malden football player, Drew Phillips, and current New York Giant. He's a cornerback up there. He was back in town doing the same thing. I guess it was a pretty good weekend for guys to be back in the area. Must have just worked out timing-wise for everybody. But Drew was back in downtown Greenville hosting his second annual youth football camp, which was pretty fun. There was a little bit of weather that went on Saturday when we were all out there, but a little bit of rain did not get in the way of the fun. Nobody melted. They just ran inside the rec center for a little bit, did some trivia, and then came back out and continued with all the fun when the weather cleared up. So it was pretty cool. There were about 150 kids or so who were out there, and you can see Drew here playing a quarterback card for a little bit, but they were all out there having a little bit of fun. He had a lot of current and former high school area talent and former college talents who were out there helping out, including Polo Anderson, a incoming Clemson freshman. He was out there as well as kind of one of the camp counselors, I guess you could call him, but it was just a really fun afternoon. And I asked Drew if he remembered going to any camps growing up, and he said not really. So he's kind of trying to use this as an opportunity to give these kids something that he didn't have when he was growing up.
I didn't really go to much camps growing up, but it was one thing where when I did end up getting to college and to the NFL, it was like I want to be able to have that so all kids have an opportunity to come out to something like this. And just, when I was younger, I wish there was someone around that I seen that made to the NFL, or at least give me a little bit of like wisdom with how to get there. So I'm out here just giving back, and any questions the kids got, I answer them.
And it was, again, a really, really awesome day out in downtown Greenville. And when he wasn't out at camp, Drew said he was spending time with family. He just loves being back in Greenville, loves the downtown scene. He's coming off the most successful season of his NFL career, going into his third year with the Giants. He played in all 17 games last year after being picked up in the third round back in 2024. Now, guys, before we go, I have to ask, they did a little bit of a sprinting competition with all of the kids in different age groups. Would either of you guys win our age group? I know we're all out in about the same age group. So if the three of us did a sprinting competition, who's going to win?
I haven't run in probably 15 years.
Okay, look, sell yourself. On a big ball, jump to throw it a couple times here at the station. Woke up with a sore back. That's a real.
Yeah, I'm a low impact gal. Like, I don't even.
But what I hear is I'm winning. I'm winning our age
You're
group.
winning, Caroline.
Yeah, I don't even need to know. I'm gifting it. That's all you. All right.
I mean,
No running for me. See.